Almighty God, you have blessed us with memory, peace, and skill. Help us to use them wisely in the service of our town government. Bless this, I holy name. Amen. Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. There's some issues or concerns that we know are going to be shared with us. Glad to have you. Harry, would you like to address the board first, maybe?
If it's okay with these gentlemen, I don't, this won't take long. Just a couple of things. First of all, just speaking to Jane, and so she had a smile on her face. So, relative to the county sales tax figures, we just got the updated figures through August 1st, and the county is up $2.1 million over last year, which is an incredible number. And also, villages are up to 998,000. So people are spending money in Clinton County, and I think you have to look at the Chamber of Commerce and the 7 fishing tournaments and, you know, the events that have been brought into the community. It's fantastic. You're at about I think it's 4.9% at the end, and I guess for each quarter you've been getting a little bit more than you estimated. So, but what I'm here to tell you is if things continue at the end, that fourth quarter check should be a nice one right around budget time. So that would be good for you. Okay. Secondly, I did want to just mention, been some talk about the occupancy tax in the paper. That was a decision we made 4.5 years ago, and we've been able to reduce now with the occupancy tax. That's an added tax to each of the rooms in Clinton County. We've been able to reduce the amount of money that we give to the Chamber of Commerce to 0 from $440,000. So again, a good example of how, you know, people working together, and there was some controversy relative to increasing the tax, but it's all gone for promotion. There hasn't been anything that's been put in county coffers. All the money has gone to the chamber, and the promotion has just been promoting each year more and more events. And as we know, in a couple of years, the Battle of Plattsburgh will be having a major celebration of having one in the fall again. I did want to comment quickly on the well, I guess it's not so much a controversy here in Clinton County, but you've probably been reading about the EMS efforts to make the bookmobile into a command center for the Tri-County region. Our original vote was 10-0, but that was predicated on the fact that 3 counties would be involved. It looks like right now that we may only have 1. And I just wanted to tell you that, you know, I've looked at the funding for it. It's grant funded. I've looked at the yearly maintenance. I've looked at where it's going to be housed. And I also remember the ice storm and remember what it would have done if we had a vehicle like that to be able to coordinate all kinds of communications in the county. So whether or not Essex County or Franklin County goes with it, I'm going to continue to support the concept because I believe in that concept. On the Clinton Community College budget, they did ask for an extra almost 3%, but when you started to ask questions about you know, what they were doing to try and tighten their belts, we looked at job cuts, college tuition increase, and they're putting in a tremendous surplus of their own money. So I still felt it was the right decision, even though in these times it's tough when people are asking for more money. The last thing is I just wanted to give you all a copy of the fact sheet. I can't tell you how proud I was of this community when we got all 3 communities. I know Supervisor Barcombe was very specific about the support of the town board, which was firm, but he wanted his villages to go along, and ultimately, not only did we get a letter from each of them, we got a financial commitment, both in terms of cash and in terms of in-kind service. And from my point of view, you know, the 3 counties working together, and I know you have another project with water that you're doing, but when I made those calls to Betty Lowell and Janet Dupree and Gary Douglas, I was very proud to say that all 3 communities had gotten together on this. I have absolutely no idea whether we're gonna get the grant. It's, as you can see, totaling around $350,000. We're only gonna be able to do phase one, which will get us to the Hayford Road from Rouse's Point, probably right at the railroad tracks through. And then phase two and phase three will be dependent upon the cost. We were looking at, for the project itself, I felt it was just too much in one chunk to go for $1 million+, and that's what it would have been initially. So we're gonna try and do it this way. I think if we get a commitment from the state to do it this way, then the funding should be available for phase two and phase three. We should know by the end of the year. Trying to make the connection, however, and I'll just finish with this thought, there has to be an economic component to this, and because it has to go through the regional council before it can actually get approval. And, you know, there are no real jobs related to this. There's tourism and the potentiality that potentially more people might come and visit the area because of the recreation trail. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, but if you have any questions about it or whatever, that's why I put together that summation sheet for you. So, thank you all.
Thank you.
I am doing more, so if there's no questions from the board, I'll be on my way to that board's meeting. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I think you need to hear these guys.
Oh, okay.
before.
Sure.
Yes.
I'm sorry, go right ahead.
Very good.
Well,
Actually, touched on what it said about the fishing tournaments and all that.
Yeah, you're upset about that?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We got something go right along the same route.
Okay.
As far as income for the town, we bought the Shazy Yacht Club in 2000, 2001, which time we had 5 boats that came back to the marina that year. And since then, we've managed to, through a lot of effort on our part and money we put into the marina, we now have upwards of 90 boats. All Canadian customers that, you know, don't put any financial burden on the community, but bring money in, leave their money here, and right now we're having serious trouble with the channel, you know, going out from the river out into the lake. After the Hurricane Irene last year, the channel, a lot of debris was deposited in the channel. Anywhere from a foot to 2 feet of chunks of wood, and everything else, anything else that, you know, might have floated down the river in time. And just when it got to that point and it spread out and the current slowed down, it all settled right there. So now we're down to about 4 foot of depth in the channel. And a lot of our sailboats are unable to get in and out. A lot of people have left. We had to refund money. And what we're looking for, we check found that there's a federal money available to the municipality to restore waterways to pre-Irene conditions. We're looking for help from the community to maybe get some of this grant money.
Not just the community, but the state itself also issues grants of that nature. We've been online and checked that out also.
Well, it does touch on what this gentleman just said about the tournaments bringing money into the area and that kind of thing. Because that state boat launch at the Shazy River right there has, on a tournament day, has 200 trailers in it. And if it gets to the point where that channel gets to the point where the fishing boats can't go out, that's money that this area is losing because of that.
There's a fuel dock there, there's a pump out for people to come in, and we get a lot of that coming in from the tournament. They come up that river and they fuel there.
We have been aware of the problem just recently in the past month or less probably. We have been in contact with Congressman Thomas, and we participant, we've asked this from the participant, was a request in writing. We would like something from you people in writing, if possible, stating your situation. So, Tom was involved with it, it's through the Army Corps of Engineers, as part of one of these usually granted.
John Pound, I've spoken to him several times.
We made some phone calls last week, and we really got to run around pulling off that another. But, when I got to the Congressman's office, we told us to bring them all the information that we have, we will go down and do it. We did ask when he was gonna be here, we're still not sure when he's gonna be in Glasgow. Congress was in a 6-week recess right now. They're still handling, business, so to speak. So we need to know all the facts that you can possibly give us.
I have written a letter, and I have some charts, basic charts that show what, it's sort of a see their pants kind of survey that we've done. The original problem with the channel was that they, if you'd like, would you like me to read the letter or?
Well, that's fine, go ahead. If you want.
Okay. All right, on July 21st, my son and I went out to the channel of the Chazy River to check out the water depth. We had been getting reports from our customers that they were having difficulty getting in and out of the harbor. Over the 12 years that we've been operating the Chazy Yacht Club, we've often had little problems with low water situations like we've had this year. There's always been 6 feet of depth in the channel, except for a small area between the number 7 and number 8 buoys. You can see that on the chart that I should have here. That was shallower than the rest of the channel. With some temporary markers and some advice, we could always get through the seas and get the people in and out of the channel. This year we found a very different situation. For more than 300 feet upstream from those buoys, the channel is filled in to 4 feet 6 inches or less across the whole channel. We've always told our boaters that they were okay in our marina if they had a draft of 4'6". This year, as the water continued to drop, boats with 3'6" draft are having difficulty. Boats with 4-foot drafts have been leaving to go to other marinas. The material on the bottom of the channel consists of a lot of waterlogged small chunks of wood. Silt and sediment are building up around this material. It's my belief that this material was dragged along the bottom of the river by the tremendous volume of water that flooded the river during Hurricane Irene last August. It then settled out in the channel where the current abated and ran into constructions at buoy 7 and 8. This is a very serious situation for us and the other marinas on the river. If not corrected, we will have to further restrict the size of boats we can accept. If the situation gets worse, the whole idea of marinas on the river will be in jeopardy. I don't think there's an easy fix to this situation. The amount of material that must be removed puts it way beyond any quick fix that we might try. It's my understanding that there may be grant money available for municipal projects like this. Would therefore like to request that the town of Champlain please pursue any possible avenue to repair the damage caused by the storm. Thank you. Is there more information that you would need than that, or?
It sounds pretty comprehensive.
Okay.
So the length of the, you said 300 feet?
Yeah, can I just,
It's fine.
you can see here, I have copies.
Okay.
I might add that Senator Little was here yesterday, and we did discuss this with her, and she was very supportive of anything that we want to do, but we have to go through Congressman Owen and county legislator, because this does impact jobs and businesses.
Yeah,
But it impacts a lot, you know, everybody's spent money to develop that, and if you can't get the boats in, well, then you can't make the money out of it.
Well, but it impacts more than just our businesses on the marina too, on the water. It impacts the price chopper and the gas stations and all that other kind of stuff. And the tournaments that come to the river and.
The river is, as you come out of the river, there's this dredged channel It runs from the mouth of the river out to where the deep water is in the rest of the lake. It was dredged originally.
In the '70s.
'70s.
By the state.
By the state.
There's 6 feet of depth pretty much through the whole channel. But as you can see on this first one, it says observed channel depth before Hurricane Irene. It would go 6 feet, and then it would come up to 5 feet, and there was a restriction there where it was even a little closer. And then it would drop back off to 6 feet and continue on. Now,
How wide is it?
it's, what's the width of the channel? Maybe
30 feet.
30 feet, yeah.
About 30 feet.
Yeah, it's wide enough for two boats to easily pass each other in the channel. But then, oh,
I came in there Sunday,
yeah,
I canoed in, and I see a boat coming out, a sailboat,
yeah.
but he was just at the edge of the land, or he wasn't out there yet. But he was going at a pretty good clip. And he must have, wasn't a huge sailboat, it was a good sized sailboat, good. I thought it was like in the river itself, it's not, it's out in the lake.
The problem is in the lake. It's the delta at the end of the river.
Yes.
And it will, on its own, it will fill up at some point.
So your largest sailboat, what depth do they make?
We've always written in our advertising, and when people have written to me online, I've always said, we don't recommend the place, before I written, we've always said, we don't recommend the place for a draft deeper than 4.5 feet. Now, that, a boat with 4.5 foot draft can be 40 feet long, or it can be 25 feet long. But a great many boats on the lake have 5.5, 6 foot drafts on the boats for 7. We just haven't been able to take them, and it's probably a situation where we probably wouldn't really.
We've turned down several
Every year
requests
we
for
turn down.
bondage.
But as
Because
I
of
said,
restriction.
yeah, up until this year, we've always said 4.5 foot draft, you're going to make, you may have some trouble with low water, we'll help you out, but you'll be able to get in and out.
I know it's low this year, but for August, it's historically low.
It is low, it is very low, and it may have been a problem, even if the other problem hadn't happened. But what we see now is completely different. As I said, we had this small restriction at the one point, you just had to get through that little bit. Now it's 300 to 400 feet of the channel completely filled in from side to side. It's not completely filled in to the highest level, but it's high enough that 2 weeks ago, we had a boat with a 4.5 foot draft, and we had to get out. I had to tie onto its mast and lean the boat over with another boat. And we worked our way out. He got stuck twice. He had to spin around in the channel. And it's a very long, wide problem. I mean, it's filled in. It's just.
Not is it just the sand and this stuff on there also? You've got about this much growth in there of vegetation also, where you're getting some of the smaller drafts that are coming through there, and they're catching all that vegetation also, and that's slowing them down a lot, and then that's helping them get stuck in there too.
And it's a situation where if it's not addressed, it'll just get worse. I mean, as you walk around there now, that's how we survey it. We've gone out there with poles, we've gone out there with depth sounders, we've done all sorts of things. Well, the most accurate way to do it is to jump over the side and walk across the channel. And always was able to get out here at the buoys 6, 7, and 8, walk across. I'm not a very tall guy, and if the water was up to here, it was 5 feet of water. If it was around here, it was 4.5 and lower. It was strictly in that little section, but 2 weeks ago when we got out, I started walking back. I could see that it had filled in there, and I started walking back, and I was almost able to walk all the way back to the other set of buoys. and the water was around my shoulder. And I said, you know, this is not something that you can just sneak somebody through. I mean, they come, you know, there are a lot of people there that can rev their boat up and say, all right, whatever I hit, because it's always soft. There's not rock out there, there's not a ledge or anything. It's dredged, it's sandy. People would take a run at it, you know, they'd hit a little bit and boom, boom, and off they go. But this is just no way. You get from one end to the other without help.
Too long.
It's too long and too, like, completely crossed. When I went out that day, the idea was to mark out, you know, the deep part, you know, but it had never been all the way across. It had always been, well, one side was better than the other. But when we went out there, you could see that just the whole thing was just shallowed up for.
There's points in that channel that he's talking about where you've got wood like this and some of them a little bigger, where it's about 6, 8 inches deep of nothing but wood. You gotta kick your feet around before you can get down and even into the sand.
Yeah,
That's
that's
how
where
much
it is.
wood is actually out in that channel.
You can walk through there and your feet, it always was a sandy bottom with a bunch of grass on it, you know, but that was all you felt. You felt sand, and you felt grass. It wasn't, we looked for, you know, we were always cleaning logs and things like that out of the channel to protect our boaters. But this, your feet would sink right into that woody material, and there would be a lot of loose, kind of silky kind of material around it, and that's the way it was the whole way. It's definitely something that's just arrived in the last year for sure.
And that thing is all soft and where it's all wet. When you step on it, it just crumbles right apart.
Yeah.
Like I said, you get about 6 to 8 inches of that, and the boats all hit that, and it destroys your boats.
For the, you know, as I said, I'm convinced that this is stuff that was laying on the bottom of the river. You know, it's just, over time, there's all this waterlogged material that just lays on the bottom of the river. I don't know if any of you got down to see how much water was running through that river last year during that rain. It was incredible.
Down when the water was on the road.
That didn't cause the problem, you know, the high water in the spring, there wasn't that volume of water coming down the river. I don't know, Ernie remembers.
80 cubic feet a minute to 8,000 cubic feet a minute flow in the river.
In a matter of a couple hours. And it was.
We're aware of the problem. If any other marine owners have any letters that what share with us, we gladly take those to the county commissioner's office. We will be working with them. You certainly can call in or stop in anytime you wish, see where we're at. And if you know of anything about, you mentioned grants or federal grants and stuff, if you're aware of those, bring those to us too, or let us know how to find them.
I found 2 online that covers that territory.
If you could print those off and bring them in, it'd be a great
Sure
help.
can.
I would like to add, Slim Pocket, this was one of her pet peeves to do. And she was county legislator toward the tail end of her reign or whatever. But she has tremendous amount of material. She has a lot of photos. She has a lot of contacts and so forth. And she, I'm sure, contacted her, could help you out, you know, in that perspective. But I think she also wants or would like to see not only the mouth of the river dredge, but including the village of Champlain, all the way through the Great Chazy River. As long as you're pursuing the grant, pursuing this, it would not be a bad idea to incorporate all that with the village of Champlain.
Right now, as far as I know, boats came up the Route 11 bridge, but from the Route 11 bridge came to the village, it's very shallow.
Well, the village of Champlain is shallow as well, and the whole, you know, the river. But I know this was certainly a pet peeve of hers, and that she wanted to pursue it. And she does have a lot of contacts, and she has a lot of material, pictures of the flooding, different documents that she's with Senator McHugh and so forth. So, you know, whoever's going to pursue this grant, I'm sure if you contacted her, she'd be more than willing to share what she has to get this done.
Do you have contact numbers for her?
Sure. Yeah, things about that.
If you stop in, bring us in a meeting. The more information that we have, the more we can share. funding sources that we need to fund.
Can you put a boat down through there with GPS on it? So we get some, now this picture is pretty self-evident, but, you know, if we get, all the boats on, they got those fish finders on, if you do the GPS.
Yeah.
Could you give them, if those people down to examine this, we really wanna know where to start, see what they can help you out and where they end. If we get a boat out there with GPS on it, it'd be, because all they gotta do is turn it into their boat and they can go right and see what the problems are.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's a pretty darn good map. but
You
if
mean
get the
pinpoint it
GPS
right by the coordinates, or are you talking about depth?
Well, if you do GPS, it should give you a readout of the depth and everything at the coordinates.
Right.
Get that on the sheet, because if they come down here to examine that, this map is good, I'm not saying it's not.
That's, actually, I'd like to say, that's a map that our predecessors at the marina, the McNamara's, they did a dredging project out there in 1995.
They did that
It was-
privately, wasn't it? It was
Yes,
private.
and it was further out in the channel where they had a problem. It's quite a bit smaller than I think the issues that we have now. But it was very expensive. But what I wanted to say is, looking at his map, it doesn't seem to jive with the way I see the channel myself. So I see what you're talking about. If we could go out there and say, this is where it starts, this is where it ends, this is, these are the
We can pinpoint that down.
points. Yeah, that was nice.
Can we point that down, and we'll include it with what we have here, and we send all this information in, and if somebody does come down and check it, they get one of the boats out there, it'd be so easy to start and finish.
Right.
Now, if they're going out with a depth finder, though, we're finding, and I've asked a lot of the boaters coming in and out, I constantly asking this, what are you getting on your depth finder? And a lot of them are telling me only 2 feet, 6 inches or something, where, like, we've all been out there, all 3 of us, we've all jumped out and walked it. So we know that's a false reading. And I know on Ernie's boat, he's been getting false reading also when we've been out there looking at it also. So if they go out with a depth finder, they're going to be getting a false reading off that.
And I'm sure that should be included in the paperwork too, because, you know, those are made with a safety feature, maybe a couple of feet.
Well, it's that, but they also read the top of the weed beds as opposed to the bottom.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, you know, putting a
Your
hat.
sensor may be on the bottom,
But if we get somebody down there, we're gonna have a place to start with this. If they give them a GPS coordinates, they're gonna drop the boat in, the shady thing, come down, they're gonna start at this particular point, go down to where they feel it's done. And then we'll get an estimate of how many cubic feet they gotta move.
Right.
All that type of thing.
Can I just clarify, who's gonna be responsible for writing this grant or whatnot? Have you started any of the information? or-
We have not,
Let me
Okay.
let me see what I can do.
Okay, great.
I know the process has been one of county coordination, but there were 2 determining factors. One, it has to be directly related to Irene, and secondly, the Corps of Engineers comes up, they do the study, and they're the ones that make the determination. And I see no reason why that couldn't happen in this case. I don't know, when you call the congressman's office, was there any discussion? I know they've extended deadlines and so on. We're not in any jeopardy there, are we, in terms of timing?
The one thing, one clarification, when it was on Friday, that we talked to the Corps of Engineers.
Yeah.
Very specific. Corps of Engineers do not have any funds. They operate funded by our congressman or by the Senate. They don't, the Corps, I was amazed at it, he specifically told us that the Army Corps of Engineers does not have any money. They have to be sponsored by either the county, our senator.
If we're doing the coordination at the county, then, and we have done some in the past, I just don't know where the process is right now.
Does it
in
have to
terms
be
of Irene.
related to Irene? Can it just be an environmental issue?
Better
This
funding.
particular funding block that we're talking about is
But
directly
if the
related to Irene.
time is up,
Huh?
if the time limit is
Well,
up.
we're gonna find that out tomorrow, Shane. I
Okay.
hope it's not. All I can tell you is the initial deadlines are long gone.
Yes, I
But
know.
they have been extending them, and so I don't know where the process is. That's where it would seem the congressman's office might have been able to tell you right away whether or not we were gonna be able to get under that umbrella of the funding. But I'll call first thing tomorrow, and I'll coordinate with you, and I'll get back and find out where we are in the county in terms of coordinating that Irene funding. And the Corps of Engineers, you know, they do need funding to go around and to each of these spots and make a determination. The bottom line is though, the municipality really can't do it itself. It has to be done by the Army Corps of Engineers. So it's kind of a catch-22, and we'll see where, but the congressman, I'm sure, you know, that those are funding areas where they can look at it, and a couple phone calls can be made, and that's the kind of thing that can be done. So I'll give you a call by the end of the day tomorrow as soon as I can find out where we are in this process, okay?
I found the grant that I showed to Mike was on the DEC website, and I don't have a
It's one of the
copy
same
of
ones I
that.
found.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things are listed every year. They're basic grants that are always available, but I'm sort of looking at this as sort of, probably, we need to hurry up here and get some. We can't wait 3 years to drag this. You wait 3 years, these guys are gonna be out of business. So,
That was a question, another question I wanted to ask, I'm sorry. Is there any idea what would be a best case scenario on how quickly these things can move through?
It's Charles, right?
Charles.
Okay. If we get an appointment, go down to the Congressman's office, would you like to represent your fellow?
Sure, I'd be glad to, sure.
You wouldn't mind doing that?
No.
I think your input would then, you could, the severity of the situation much better than we probably.
Okay, sure, I'd be glad to,
That's
sure.
a possibility?
Yep.
I'm assuming it's gonna be either late this week or next week, the latest. We would like to be down there, okay? We'll give you as much notice as possible, if we
Okay.
could do that.
Yep, okay.
I think that would have some weight with these congressman's office. What he can do for us, we don't know yet.
Okay.
Okay, but we need to keep after that.
Very good.
You mentioned something about the Corps of Engineers coming up in this area. When I was talking to John Conley from the Corps of Engineers, he said something about he's gonna be up in this area third week in September. I don't know if that helps you at all.
The more knowledge we got, the better we are. If you hear exactly when he's gonna be here, let us know that too, you know?
Yeah, I don't know the exact date, but I've been on the phone with him several different times.
I guess the message we want to convey to you owners is that we will do whatever we can do to help the process along.
That's a very wonderful thing to hear, from our point of view. We started banging our, you know, we knew that the channel needed to be maintained when we bought the place, and I called everyone I could, and Ms. Paquette was always very helpful and very supportive, and always trying her best to try to get something done. And I called the Corps of Engineers, I just called everybody I could think of, and I kind of got told that, the Corps of Engineers told us they were responsible for everything from the border down past Albany, and it would be very hard for us to make the list at that time.
Congressman would have more pull than you and I.
Right.
I don't know if I had more pull than him, but I had a little bit better influence. I'm retired military myself, and I made a phone call to a friend of mine, and he kind of called him. That's when he called me back, so I'm not saying I'm any better than he is, but I just had a couple more influences than
That's all right.
maybe than he had. And anything at this point in time will help.
And this is good timing this evening, because we have our county legislator, Harry McManus, with us, so this is perfect.
Well, I certainly can get a couple of answers tomorrow as to where this process is and what the county can do to help you guys out, so I can, that's an easy phone call to make. And unfortunately, if it becomes a DEC issue relative to the regional council, all those grants were due about a month ago, so you missed the deadline for this year if it doesn't fall under Irene. It doesn't mean, because there is economic impact, and that's exactly what the regional council is looking for, is trying to help local people with, you know, negative economic impact. So you fit that criteria too, even if the Irene issue doesn't work out. So there is but unfortunately, we're 11 months away from, you know, a grant submission on that particular DEC side.
Assuming it's a lot easier to lose a customer than it is to gain one back.
People like our marina, and we've had people who have left and said they want to come back. You know, they can't keep their boat in a place where they can't get in and out. They just can't. But they would definitely come back with the channel taken care of, and it would be a lot easier to attract more people.
I can give you a good example about that. On Monday, I had an individual come in from Michigan. Said that he heard a lot about the marina. He told me what he had for a boat, what he had for a draft, and my response to him was, we would love to have you here, but we don't want you to hurt your boat also. At this point in time, I recommend that you maybe go to a marina that's in the lake where you are not gonna be going through the channel. I gave him some paperwork for next season. He looked at all the paperwork that we have and the pictures that we have of our marina down there. And he totally loved it. He said he understands the water level is low and we've got a bad year, but he said he really likes this area. From what he's heard, this is a beautiful spot. So all the way from Michigan.
No doubt about it.
I was impressed. Yeah, I really didn't feel like turning him away, but I don't want him to hurt his boat either.
Now, the other marinas, there's a couple other small marinas in that lake, on the river too?
Yeah, we have.
Okay, so if you get more than one letterhead requesting this, it should have an impact, I would think. So.
Yeah, we'll draw up a letter for you. I don't have one at the moment, but we can draw something up.
At least by early next week, we want to get down to the commissioner's office. I think one would be enough to give us support.
Yeah, but more you got, the more impact.
He's talking the individual, Calvin.
Yeah, to go along with you, but I mean, as far
Right.
as letters.
Oh,
and-
letters, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, letter's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know that we want to take 10 people to the conference, which is okay, but we're not guaranteed he's going to be there. They told us to come down here. We will call it in.
Well, Scott and I, our marina, we'll draw up a letter, much like Chick's.
Please do that.
And I'll get it to Mickey by the end of the week.
Now, according to what I've seen on Channel 5 in Vermont, the FEMA thing is just about up for Irene. It's just a matter of days, what they're saying on Channel 5, because they're covering the Vermont FEMA, But I think it'd have tough to convince me that this was Irene's problem if I were out there, because that flood of last spring is what brought all this debris in there. Now, Irene may have stirred it up a little bit, but I think without Irene, it would still be a problem, especially with the low water right now.
Well, we were out there last year around this time. We had low water just before Irene hit. We were in a similar situation that we're in every year. The water's low, people need guidance, how to get in and out. We have to check the buoys that the people put out there on they get moved around quite a bit. So we were out there, and we know the way it was before the hurricane. There was the normal situation, the sandy bottom, the restriction at 7 and 8, and we were able to get people in and out there at that time. But this year is a completely different thing.
Now, I know Sherb House, who was a co-owner of the Lord's Marina at the time, was the main one instrumental in getting the Army Corps of Engineers to do that 35 years ago. So if somebody wanted to pick his brain, he lives in the Stetson Road, it wouldn't hurt. It's been 35 years, but still, he went through it, and it's not the state, it's the feds, the Army Corps of Engineers that did it.
What was his name again?
Sherb House, he works for Crowley's, up next to the, doesn't work there anymore?
Works for Beeline.
Oh, he works for Beeline, okay. Well, anyway, he lives on the Stetson Road.
The trucking place?
Yeah. But he went through it when he owned Lord's, and he was the one that got it done, so.
Okay. Appreciate you coming in. Your input. Always welcome back to, something you need, tell us, or want. The more knowledge we have, the better off we all are.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No one else wishes to speak?
Just, Alan's not here, but do you know if he's planning on mowing that park? Because we got September 1st, we got the Battle of Plattsburgh stuff at Dewey Tavern in there. And,
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You will.
Thank you, Mike.
so whoever's on that committee,
Morris is done, I'm sure.
You guys have more fish to fry than I do.
Thank you very much, Harry.
Great. Larry, I will call you tomorrow, okay? I'll find out what I can, okay? We'll see where we are.
We're looking for fish to fry, that's why you want to dredge the river. So, you know, could somebody make sure of that? Because I'd hate to have people show up on September 1st and not be able to get to the
I
flagpole.
will check on that for you. I do, speaking of that, I do need someone, who's always been asked for someone in town to speak, the ceremony is September 1st, this year is a Saturday. I can't be there, Dick can't be there. I don't know, either John or Dennis, would you like to do the welcoming address, either one of you? 60 seconds, 2-minute speech. Oh, yeah, I asked him this year, he does not want to do it. He has done it for a couple of years. You do it?
As long as I'm available.
Saturday at 7 noon.
At Dewey Tavern.
I will call you a few days ahead to remind you. You don't have to hire a speechwriter, just.
I think I'll be okay.
Just welcome the crowd there, we do that every year.
As I noticed, smaller than I anticipated, but I noticed at Plattsburgh and I think Beekmantown has their 1812 banners up. Have we received ours?
Yes, we just got them this past week. And we gotta get in touch with Champlain Tell. And then I think we have 5, I think. And certainly it's gonna be around Dewey Tavern, around the cemetery, and we're not quite sure where else that should be. You know, but probably one here.
Yeah.
But concentrate down for that all over the place. So hopefully, I was gonna ask Steve tonight, but he's unable to be with us, so we can try to orchestrate that this coming week.
I expect Steve in either tomorrow or Friday, so
Yeah.
he'll be in to see me. I should have to get to him. Okay, I need approval of the minutes of July 10th and July 26th. I'd like to take them separately if possible.
I will make a motion that we approve the minutes as written on July 10th, 2012. Second.
Any questions on July 10th, or regular monthly meeting? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And I need a motion for the July 26th special meeting.
We'll also make a motion that we accept the minutes from the special meeting held on July 26th, 2012.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have the town clerk's monthly report. Motion to accept.
I make a motion to accept the town clerk's monthly report for the month of July.
I second that.
Any questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have real property since their work schedule for here in this building. They're here every Friday to be public. They're here most every Monday, not necessarily always in the office on Monday, but on Fridays, there's always somebody in the office. If there are any questions or concerns, strictly for information. The state office real property tax service equalization rate, I believe we did last month it was a tentative. This month it's the actual, 100% of equalization rate. So good information. You have your dog control officer's monthly report. For your information. We have a letter from the Adirondack Tobacco-Free Network. It's a newsletter pertaining to reducing adolescents' use of tobacco. A small brochure attached. It's always good. We have a letter from the Champlain Fire District. Come to our attention that some of our business contracts are using incorrect or outdated contact information. This letter is to clarify the correct contact and vendor information. It is a Champlain Fire District. It is not a fire department. It's a fire district. Okay. If anybody has any questions, either call us or anybody from the fire commissioners. We have the Clinton County Planning Board, a letter of support for shared water sewer improvement project and consolidation funding application. a letter of support. The Village of Champlain sends a letter to Alan Racine. On behalf of myself, Superintendent Larry Sorrell, Village Board, and residents, we'd like to thank you for the use of 3-man and 3 trucks when we build Church Street. Shared services such as this makes our work less labor intensive and more efficient. Again, we appreciate you adjusting the work schedule to help us out. Signed by the mayor. New York State Municipal Insurance sent us a letter. It's actually, please note this is not an invoice, it's not a bill. That's good news. Strictly for information. Okay. I have the next thing these guys don't have, I just got it today. It's a memorandum of understanding. This memorandum of understanding shall be between the Village of Champlain, the Village of Rouse's Point, and the Town of Champlain. We shall together pursue for the mutual benefits of the citizens of these 3 municipalities the development, design, and construction and operation of water filtration process that will provide water service for these 3 municipalities. Okay, and any outlying areas mutually agreed upon by the Village of Champlain, the Village of Rouse's Point, and the Town of Champlain. I make a motion to accept the memorandum of understanding.
I make a motion to accept the memorandum.
Second that. Is there any questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. I believe that needs a new signature on the bottom. And give it back to Mickey. You gotta take that to Russell's Point.
Yeah, they have their meeting on Monday.
Okay, give that back to Mickey.
Get a copy of that first, June?
Yeah. Okay. We have a old van in our possession out here for a couple of years now. We need to get rid of it. We need a motion to go through the process of removing it. It takes several months. Julie has to work through it. Police reports and the motor vehicle, and we need to start the process. We don't need that thing there for another 2 years. I'd like a motion to start the process of the removal of the old van. It's a seized van, it's not our van. It was seized at the border, I believe.
I make a motion to start the procedure and process to remove the van that's been vacated in our yard.
I'll second that.
Any questions on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We've got 2 resolutions to consider tonight. The town board resolution to authorizing the town to increase contribution of $11,264.92 to cover the project for redesigning the pump. This is, would a change order be the proper name?
Yeah.
Change order would be it, but I believe last month in your board meeting, you passed a motion, or made a motion to do a final payment up to $6,000.
Yes.
So the information that decision was based on is incorrect. Is that correct?
Right.
So after pursuing it with Matt Cooper and so forth, it was determined that $11,264.92 was the final figure. So we have to increase the amount of the final payment from $6,000 to $11,000, an increase of $5,264.92.
Everybody understand that? I hope. It's been an ongoing project now for about 3 years. I need a motion.
I make a motion that we pay the $11,264.92.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Any questions on this? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Number 2, the approval of transfer of $51,869.66 from general town outside Fund B to Route 11 sewer. Interfund transfer period ending as of this past June 30th, 2012. We recently went through an audit. We requested an audit from the State Controller's Office pertaining to our water and sewer districts. Some were fine, some were in debt. want to know where we're at, where we found out. This is a benefit area. It's not a water district. And this is how the auditors recommend that we rectify, solve this problem, so to speak. Not right, Gordon?
Yeah. It was determined by the auditors that since the district was formed as a benefit area, that it is legally okay to use town outside funds, the funds that are generated other than the villages, to use for O&M, operating and maintenance for those districts. Okay? For the district, that's correct. The auditors were not aware of that. It was a state attorney that determined that because it was formed in that fashion, that it was legally okay to do. And since the B fund as well as the DB fund have revenue sources of sales tax money, we figured that we could make that district solvent with the revenues based from sales tax. Okay, so this is only as of the 30th of June. This does not pull the district completely out of debt. We're still waiting for $11,000 check for the final payment of the grant that we received. That is not part of this, and like I say, doesn't solve the problem completely, but it will pull that district out of debt. But in the same thought, the auditors do feel that the town board has to make some kind of rational decision based on realistic projections of how we can right the wrong here. I mean, this money is due to residents outside of the villages, but it was generated in that district. So those people in the district that have benefited from this area should pay back this debt to the general town outside fund over a long period of time. So for the next, maybe 3-4 months, the town board should physically analyze where the districts are, where the expenditures are occurring, and project what they will be in the next year, 2 or 3 years, and have a 5-year plan in order to correct the problem. It can't be resolved in a year, maybe not even 2, but the state is saying you have to do something.
You have to have a plan.
That's right. Either to raise rates, raise service charges, or, do something. There was a tremendous amount of expenditures in Route 11 with the grinder pumps, with all kinds of problems, and because of the few customers, it was hard to climb out of that debt. The profit in that was minimal.
So we're very fortunate that we have that excessive.
Exactly right, but you can't count on that all the
Right,
time. It's not
exactly.
fair to my
Right.
pocketbook or
Absolutely.
anybody else's pocketbook to have this benefit just a pocket full of people.
This district was created for Miramar, which was a big user at the time. Now they're not there, so hence the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, all the other people got on after, but had it not been for Miramar,
Miramar.
there never would have been a water and sewer on Route 11, which,
McDonald's and a lot of people have benefited,
Yeah.
and they should pay for it.
And we do have 2 other water districts, much smaller districts. One is only $30-some, I believe, in debt. We're going to have to restructure either the quarterly service fee or the rate per thousand to bring those out of debt. And those we think could be easily done over a 3-4 year period. And the auditors agree with
The
that.
audit and control is very willing to help us out, guide us along the way with attorneys and so forth. And we want to do it legally, but do it in a fair and justified way to these customers.
We have been reluctant, at least as long as I've been here, probably before, to raise those rates because they're so high already. We have no choice here. We are going to have to raise the quarterly service charge or the rate per 1,000 of gallons of water, or both. Some formula. We're going to do that in the next 3 or 4 months here, probably even sooner than that.
Yeah, we should start talking and getting the wheels in motion now, and then running it by the attorneys, and, certainly, listen to their guidance and so forth along the way.
Audit control guys are great to work with. We request that they come back and audit those accounts, and they did. And it took them several months to give us an opinion, but that was fine. We worked well together. Thank them. So I do have a motion, I believe, to restart the program. We got a motion then. Okay. I do need a motion to approve the transfer of the funds, 51,000.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer $51,849.66 from the general town outside B fund to Route 11 sewer, interfund transfer period ending 6/30/12.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any questions on that?
And so to my understanding, just a little bit more, please, so this money will have to be paid back to the,
It doesn't necessarily have to, you're not legally bound to pay it back, but I think you're more.
kind of the right thing to do.
Right. It's legally okay to do it this way and use that funds to offset or get that district solvent. But I think the town board has a moral obligation to pay that back over a long period of time. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
My money, my pocketbook.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Highway superintendent is not here tonight. The highway superintendent report, we're waiting, we're expecting to start paving next week. We have 3 roads that are ready to be paved. We only have one more culvert put in on Stony Point Road, and that road will also be ready. That's the 3rd road. We expect to start next week.
Waiting for the county,
Right.
waiting for the county.
Yeah, the county is building one of their own roads.
15-mile
So,
stretch.
they're doing well out here. As soon as they've done that, Blackman Road and Moores are gonna be up here. And it's about the time of year we normally do it, late July, August. So that's gonna work well.
And we've been out to observe the prepping that's done. It's been tremendous, really. The culvert, Larry and I took Larry down yesterday out at Stony Point. That's,
Huge culvert.
and then, and he's gonna replace
We're gonna do
the other
another
one.
up there, too.
The
I think
other,
we just
you
got
can tell.
approval from DEC.
You did get it.
I believe so.
You did
Because-
get, I believe you got the culvert today.
Yeah.
Because that's all rotted as well. That's on the upper end of Stony
About
Point.
Perfect unit.
Well, that's perfect.
That swamp is so bone dry.
And he also has been working on the Dubois Road too.
Yep.
I think there was a sweep that he took down with enough slivs and so forth. I think he was working there as well.
Good job.
Sorry, as long as we're on the highway department, did we make a motion to authorize for Alan to send, put the bids out for the new truck that will be so late in the year? I make a motion that we authorize the superintendent to accept bids, put in the bid out the bids for that new truck.
Okay.
We've got the specs and everything.
Okay.
We can't wait much longer, we're not gonna get it.
It takes 4 or 5 months, they said, right?
So I'd like to make a motion, we authorize it to go forward with it.
Second that.
Thank you. Any questions?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, John. We know nothing on the committee reports. Does anybody have anything on any committee reports?
Yes, on the building itself, walk around the building, we should have the building washed again, especially the front section. It looks terrible out there. I think we had it done last year.
No, we were going to. We
I
did
don't know if it was
not.
last year, the year before, Ed Sterling.
Yeah.
Was it last year?
Was it last year you did?
You do it every year, the boats,
The
you know,
boats are
they're
terrible.
Bad.
It looks pretty poor out there.
And also exterminating. You've noticed a lot of spiders, Janice has noticed a lot of
Well,
like hard beetle kind of things, and I'm not sure of that fellow's name.
Joe Rotella.
That's
I'll,
right, too.
I'll give you the,
Okay, I can.
I've got it.
You got it?
yeah,
Okay.
he's excellent. And actually, during the summer months, you know, they would come here and do it on a monthly basis, and it pays off. It really, really does. You saw the time we had the trail of ants in
Oh, I
there.
know, it's terrible.
And he's,
This time of year, I don't know why.
it's bad. So, do we,
Let's make a motion to have the building washed and hire the terminator to clean the building out.
yeah. So you wanna, I get it washed before we get it started?
Yeah.
All right, sure.
Made a motion?
I'll second that motion. Should we get, you want me to get hold of them, or? I'd get a hold of Sterling.
There you go. Just have to coordinate it with.
Do we need it, what would just get it done? I mean, we know it's
Well,
gonna be.
I know what it cost last year.
was-
I believe I know what it
Yeah,
cost.
it
Around
was-
800?
Yeah, I was gonna say it was tough there.
I know, we have an image back there.
Oh, John, it's not even a question.
The court is here and.
Absolutely.
always remind him what he charged us last year, and we can't pay any more this year.
You're gonna take care of it?
I will, I
Okay.
will.
Both,
And the-
how about the
Exterminator as well? or-
Okay, I'll take care of both
Okay.
of them. All right. We'll get it clean before we exterminate it.
I don't believe we voted on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. One other thing, we got a report from Illinois Waste System, which monitors, good partner of Judas, our landfill. It's an annual report. They don't do everything every year. Some of the tests are done every year, some are done every other year, some are actually even twice a year, a while back. I went through it today the best I could. I didn't see no recommendations for anything that needs to be fixed. Normally, a well casing up here needs to be straightened when they tell us. I did not see any of that. Strictly, it will be on file here at the town office if anybody wants to read it over.
I guess Alan had a chance to mold that too.
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
Been molded last week.
Anybody wants to read it, come on in and ask for it. It's not real exciting reading though. You have anything you want to say?
The only thing I have is the townwide yard sales this weekend. So if anybody wants to get on the map, they can call us.
Okay.
That's next Thursday.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything?
Yes, I would like to make a motion for request for executive session to discuss personnel, please.
Okay.
Second that motion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we need to pay the bills for, before we go into discussion. Yep.
I just want to make sure.
You can review your post audit bills, and we need an approval of the monthly bills. We got one change that I gave you all, I believe,
Yep.
before reading. On the third page, third
Yep.
item.
I make a motion to pay the monthly bills as listed with the correction of page 3.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We're going to,
Well, I got one more thing, that the town signs are in fabrication.
Are they?
She's finally, and I also had enough to give you a copy here. I personally, with Laura and I, myself, went around, we measured every one of the signs and we've got them on a map. There's 9 of them
Yeah.
throughout the community. They are
That
in,
includes this one out front?
Yep.
Yeah.
we've got 4, we're doing right away here.
right.
We'd like to keep the color and everything as a surprise.
Yep. It's gonna be nice.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
I think
nice,
so.
and they are, there isn't a one that's any better than
I
another.
know, yeah.
They're really, the more you look at them,
That chartreuse pink is wonderful.
John, by the way, there is 10. What have you come to anything with the one in Rogers Point?
I didn't really get to talk to the boys, but I was gonna ask them over, we were at the thing there the other day, and then I got away from me.
It doesn't make sense to have.
No. I went to the board meeting too, I forgot to figure out the board meeting. Oh, there's another board meeting next Monday night, I'll take that. Okay.
You got one thing?
Yeah, just quick, sounded, based on what Dennis was saying, it sounds like the consensus is that almost 52,000 will be paid back, but sometimes we plan to do things and forget about doing them. Is there some way we can have an assurance that that will be in there, that as a town outside taxpayer, I'm a little concerned about it,
Yeah, and I'm not so sure we know exactly what the timetable would be.
But there's some way that as a taxpayer will know that.
We're gonna have to restructure the rates. Come up with something that will be above and beyond what they actually need now. The problem even on the smaller districts is the unexpected repairs. I mean, they can kill you. We put a lot of money in that, the pumping station before we changed it all over. It was costly.
I might suggest it on your agenda, if you put a subtitle, old business, and have that, because I'm in the same boat, and Jay, I don't get water and sewer, and I don't wanna pay for that down there.
That's why I asked the question about.
Yeah.
How it is.
No, but to keep it in memory every month, that if you see it on your agenda,
It's
then
not
you know
there,
something
it's
has
not
to be
gonna
done.
It's easy to
Because
forget
things have a
about.
way of,
I will. How it is put into the accounting system is a due to and due from. Okay, so this $52,000 is due to the district of the Route 11 sewer district. And in the Route 11 sewer district, it's due from. So there'll always be on the books, until that is satisfied, it'll always be in the budget and in board space that that money is still owed to that district, or to that general fund.
Yeah, but
But we need to come up with
we
a
need
plan
to,
on
we need
how-
And you
people
can
like
do
us
it
are sitting at
once
home
a
need to know
year,
it.
You know, like a payment or whatever. So the extra money that is charged, that it goes over and beyond the expenditures, should come back to
Similar to a
the
mortgage.
general fund until it is satisfied.
We need a plan on how this money is being paid back.
Yeah, and where it's
It can't be
visible,
in a
where,
year, it can't be in 5 years. You know, 15, this is not all of it. This is not all that district owes. This is only half the year. So we still got a full year to go.
Yeah, it's not a small chunk of coin.
Yeah.
no.
Really just thought there was about 10 on that district.
Yeah, it was
You
only,
lose one, you lose a lot.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we don't want to bankrupt anybody to chase them out of there,
Yes.
but, you know, same thing, you know, us folks that have our own wells,
Yeah.
if all of a sudden we get a couple $1,000 bill,
Yep.
we gotta pay it.
I
So,
just, I know what that is.
Yeah.
The-
Septic
the
tank.
septic
It's your
system.
pocketbook too, Dick?
Pardon?
It's your pocketbook.
Yeah, it didn't help me with my septic system.
You know, so, you know, we don't want to bankrupt anybody, but we just want to make sure that eventually it's paid back.
No, you're right, when you think of it that way, I mean.
We're very hopeful down the road, with this new water and sewer plan that we have, including 2 villages and town, that we can restructure the rates, where even the president's rates may be enough of money to handle that district, without keeping raising the rates. The rates are really high now, Phil.
Oh, no.
The auditors didn't know of any of them, I believe, higher than ours. Okay? We're paying around $25,000, $26,000 in water and sewer. And
Yeah,
that's
but it starts at twice what the villages are paying, when it starts there, and
2.5
then,
times.
yeah, by the time you add in your
Yes.
expenses,
Okay. And we charge $1 something over and above that, and it does not take care of the operation and maintenance of it. Because of the large unexpected things that happen.
There's so few customers.
That's all the customers are doing it.
Perry's Mills, there's what, 6, 7 customers?
Now, Ridge Road has 17, 18 or something like that. Yeah.
We have 46 users in total.
Yeah,
Mix or match them any way you want.
most of them are commercial.
Yeah. So, that's where we're at. We're gonna try to rectify the situation.
We need more business.
Absolutely.
We need more businesses, and even a home, one of those small districts helps, you know. You got 7, for instance, in one district, if you got 10, it would be a different story. Even a home.
But nevertheless, any way you cook the cookie, we still have to maintain the water system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the residents of the
There's a
village.
break, the pumps go down or whatever, you still, and that's why.
Even if we go in the hole, we still have to maintain that system. And I hope everybody realizes that.
Yesterday, there was an announcement that Champlain was there, the medical center. It's being bought, taken over by some Headwaters out of the Glens Falls area, 1st of October. They have big hopes. They would like to rebuild another building in the next 2 or 3 years, employ more doctors, more nurses, more everybody, and that would be good for the area. And that's another reason why we would like to see water on Route 11. They expect to build on Route 11, that's where they want to build. And it's almost a necessity. They have water and water. It was a great turnout, I think, yesterday. Everybody was pretty positive.
Mhm.
The hospital in Burlington, the hospital in Glasgow, the health commissioner was here, and it turned out well. Our state senator was here, our state assembly lady was here. It was a great day. I think it's going to enhance the whole medical service for the whole northern care, not just Champlain, neighboring villages and towns. So that's good news. It's an asset. It's going to be an asset to us. And it didn't rain on our parade that day. That was a beautiful day. Anybody else have anything before we go to executive session? I already had a motion to pass. We're going to be ready for executive session. Mickey, I'd like to have you stay. Okay.
Corn is cold.
What's going to be called?
My corn.
Supper.
Warm it up.
You get some rest,
No.
Oh, you're guarding, that's right, too.
You gonna vote?
What's that?
You gonna vote?
To end the meeting?
No, well, we have a
vote.
motion to go into executive
Right,
session.
you haven't voted though.
Yeah, we did.
Way back.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a, so, let's get a motion to
Yes, I'll make a motion.
go into executive session.
And I'll second that motion.